You're listening to the Productive Therapist Podcast, the world's greatest and most brilliant resource for busy therapists who'd rather be laying on a beach in Hawaii. Every week we share helpful tips on where to put what, how to do this, that, and the other, and the best way to get your ducks in a row. And now here's your host, licensed therapist, head nerd, and productivity Yoda, Uriah Guilford.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. So excited to have you join us today. This week's episode is a kind of a special one. And if you are a practice owner that has an intake coordinator or you're thinking about hiring an intake coordinator, you're going to love this one. It's going to be super valuable for you. So this is actually a full recording of one of our trainings from our program called Therapy Intake Pro, which is a training and support program specifically for intake coordinators for mental health practices. So in this one, we're going to talk about the 14 qualities of a world-class assistant. So these are the things that we look for when we're hiring virtual assistants, and also the same qualities that we help other practice owners look for when they are hiring in-office or virtual assistants. So enjoy the episode today. Hello.
Hi there.
How are you doing today?
I am good. How are you?
Fantastic. Today, we're going to actually talk about 14 qualities of a world-class intake coordinator. And we want this to be one part encouragement, and I think one part practical assessment or evaluation tips, right?
Right. Yes, definitely.
So basically, if you're listening to this and you are a practice owner and you have an intake coordinator, you can kind of keep track of these 14 things and sort of on a scale of 1 to 10, you can sort of rate your intake coordinator and see how they're doing on each one of these qualities.
Right.
And then if you're listening to this and you are the intake coordinator, then it's a good idea to go ahead and self-assess, is what we say as therapists,
Right.
And rate yourself. So I think that should be helpful for both folks.
Right. And I think it's kind of great because if you are looking to improve as an intake coordinator, you now have like some goals that you could set for yourself.
I'm the kind of person, I always love a framework of any sort, whether
Right,
it's
me
for any job or task or part of life. I love sort of a map, if you will, or
Right.
a guideline. It's always helpful to see where you are. I actually had a conversation with one of our productive therapist members the other day, and it just kind of stood out. She said, "My assistant is fantastic. She learns quickly, makes very few mistakes, and just gets her work done. I feel like I can trust her." When I heard that, I was
amazing.
like pumping my fists in the air. Like
Right.
that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
And she also, the way she said she gets her work done, she actually said she's very quiet. But what she meant was she just, behind the scenes kind of does all the things, and it's like the quality is good. So ultimately, if you get a review like that from the practice owner or from your boss, whoever is your manager, like that's what we're looking for, right?
Right. I think quiet, another good thing was that she could work on her own, right? She doesn't need a lot of direction and think independent. Excellent. That's the word. Yes.
Definitely. So you want, we're going for 5 stars on Yelp. If if you and your services were, to be rated.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So a couple quick tips on why this is important. And these might be sort of self-explanatory, but they're worth saying. So the first one is potential clients looking for help are depending on you to do your job well. And you know that already. This is, it's not like super high stakes work, but it is very, very important. And people are calling with some level of crisis or need. And so they need you to be the best that you can be on every given day as much as possible. So that's number one. The second one for you, if you're the intake coordinator listening to this, if you are so good that you're irreplaceable, you're going to have a ton of job security, and a happy boss is always a good thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's our goal, is to be irreplaceable.
I think the word for that is linchpin, which
Yes.
on the one hand is a really good thing. If you're the employee and you
Right.
are, like I would say you are that, Tricelle,
Oh,
you would be very, very difficult to replace at this point. So
well, I have
linchpin.
something to tell you. No, I'm just kidding.
Not now, no. So that's key, kind of the self-interested part. The first one is like, we're helping the world. The second one is
Right.
looking out for yourself, which is important.
Sure.
And then lastly is also related to you as the intake coordinator. If you are world-class and you do the best that you can, you're just going to have more positive self-esteem and confidence because you're doing good work.
That's right.
It feels good.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be curious, what are the 14 qualities of a world-class intake coordinator? I'm going to tell you. 14 might seem like a lot. We could make it a tighter list. We could also make it probably 37 qualities.
Right.
because there are a lot of things to mention and aspects, character traits, if you will, that make a person particularly good at this job. But we'll go with 14. And some of these actually we took an informal poll of our team of virtual assistants and got some of these answers from them.
Right.
And they're too sort of shy is not the word, but they don't want to brag on themselves, but they were able to volunteer. They're modest. Yes, but they are awesome. They're all awesome. So the first one, and a lot of these are going to be self-explanatory, but we will add some context and maybe some examples to tell you what that kind of looks like or means on a day-to-day basis. First one is strong communication skills. Obviously, across the board, that's really important, written and verbal.
Yes.
I mean, that's on every job posting, right? We need somebody that has strong communication skills, but it just can't be overstated that you need to be able to do that. And one of the things we talk about in our training process for new intake coordinators is over communicating is critical, especially in the beginning. So you want to say more than you think you need to say.
Right.
And really, same with writing too.
Right. And it's really important for us because we are remote, but some of our intake coordinators listening to this could be working remotely. And I think that's when it's even more important, because that's where I think the chances of something going wrong, if you are not able to communicate well via email or, in some sort of written form, when you can't see somebody face to face and go, well, what about have that back and forth immediately. I think it's really important if you're working remotely.
That's true. Sometimes when I'm writing emails or messages on our internal messaging system, I try to anticipate any questions that might come up, and then because you don't want to make written communication like too long, but you want to make it succinct and touch on all the things that you think might be important.
Exactly.
So that's critical. And the next one is ability to balance empathy with boundaries. Obviously, empathy is a helpful skill no matter what your role or no matter where you are in life, but it's got to come with boundaries. This one book that I read called Radical Candor, which is about helping managers give feedback to their employees, calls it ruinous empathy. So so you can have so much empathy that you're not communicating the right things that need to be communicated, right?
Right. I could see that.
Yeah. And that's where boundaries come in. It's super important. And we're talking about empathy and boundaries within the communication with the clients or potential clients, but also with your coworkers and your boss. So empathy in the sense of being able to understand others, the feelings of others, especially when you're an intake coordinator talking to people on the phone and being able to express that. There's not too many situations where you need to set hard boundaries with potential clients, but there's times when you have to say no, or we don't have a therapist available, or that scheduling option available, or those kinds of things. So I guess part of that is you want to be a person that is compassionate and caring, but you also want to be able to have some backbone, I guess, right?
Yes.
Some ability to kind of stand up for whatever needs to be stood up for.
Right. Let somebody down gently.
Yeah, there's a lot to potentially unpack in there, but I'm going to leave it at that. Empathy with boundaries.
Yes.
And that's important. Let me take just a quick pause and tell you a bit about our sponsor. This episode has been sponsored by Simple Practice, the leading practice management platform for private practitioners everywhere. More than 75,000 professionals use Simple Practice to power telehealth sessions, schedule appointments, file insurance claims, communicate with clients, and so much more. It truly is an all-in-one HIPAA-compliant platform. Get your first 2 months of Simple Practice for the price of one when you sign up for an account today. This exclusive offer is valid for new customers only, and you can go to simplepractice.com/productive therapist to learn more. So number 3 is attention to detail and organization. Again, kind of self-explanatory, but I don't know. The truth is, Tricelle, most people are not very good at self-assessment, right?
Yeah, so many people think they are, right? They're like, I have great attention to detail. And you're like, I don't think so.
It's true. There's been actually a lot of studies on therapists evaluating their own effectiveness in their work. And by and large, we think that we're better than we are. And part of that is because we don't have a lot of metrics for how do I know for sure that I'm doing good work. But with this role as an intake coordinator, you know what you're supposed to do, and you know what a good job looks like. And if you don't, you need to ask, right? But I like it when we're interviewing people for a virtual assistant position. I like it when they say something to the effect of, I obsess about details, or I'm a nerd about organization, or I have a system that I use. And any of those things, I'm like, you're the one.
Right.
So that's super important. And that goes along with what I said before about that sort of 5-star review of somebody saying that like very few mistakes.
Right.
We're all going to make mistakes, and everybody is human, and we understand that as employer. I understand that as an employer, and everybody gets that. But you want to hopefully not make the same mistakes and pay attention. Next one is good at creating and following a system. And this is something that you might not have expected to be on this list, but it is. Obviously, following directions and following, written policies and procedures is very helpful. Like, yes. People who are so independent or even bordering on rebellious are probably not great for this kind of situation. But the part here that I want to emphasize is creating and improving systems and documenting systems.
Yes.
I can tell you that every practice owner out there who has an intake coordinator is very busy, probably seeing a lot of clients, probably, managing a bunch of other things for the practice. And if you, as the intake coordinator, can improve on the systems that are there already and or create new ones, again, you're going to be much harder to replace and very valued by the practice owner.
Right. Because don't you think that sometimes if somebody is a solo practitioner, they are doing all the things. And so they just maybe create a system that is not very efficient or effective, but it got them by at the time. And so if you can take that and go, what would be great if we did this, we could make this change and this would happen, and you can show them the benefits. I'm sure they tell you, yeah, do it, go for it. And that's where it's really fantastic for us as a team. If somebody needs something like, hey, is anybody using something like this? Or what about that? And so we're able to pool our resources with all the different members that we work with. And that is really helpful.
It's really, I can't overstate the value of creating and updating and improving systems. It's so key. And one things I love about Lucy, who is the podcast producer, is what I'm trying to say.
Ooh, that's hard to say.
And does several other things too. But whenever I say, hey, actually I'd like to do it like this, or I give her some sort of small change in the order of the way we do things or how we do it, she immediately goes to that document and then updates it.
Right.
So if somebody else ever needs to take over and do what she was doing,
yes,
they will have the up-to-date information. So I'm like,
that's
yes,
right. Yes,
that's a win. Okay. Number 5 is strong problem-solving skills. I was listening to a book called Clockwork, which I highly recommend, by Mike Michalowicz, which is all about systems and creating a business that runs itself or runs like clockwork. And they talk about the difference between deciding and delegating. And they say, basically, if you have an employee that you give something, you hand something over to, but they have to keep coming back to ask you 1,400 questions about it.
Right.
Because they encounter any number of bumps in the road, then that just doesn't work for both sides.
Right.
So you need to be a person who, and I'm going to laugh about this because it feels almost like, I don't want to be rude to anybody that works for me, but I say, if you ask me something that I can Google in 2 minutes, then we have a problem.
Right. Between Google and YouTube, you can find the answer to anything.
Definitely. So it's like a mixture of independence and problem solving on your own, and then what I would call interdependence and relying on your team and or your manager, right?
Right.
But if you come to the table with strong problem solving skills, and if you can solve a problem and then bring the solution,
right,
that's 1,000 times better.
Right. And the thing that I think is even great is somebody says, hey, I need help with this. I've tried this, I've gone to Google, I've done this, and they have tried to work it out, but they're at their end of, their choices, their options, then absolutely, please ask for help. Nobody's saying try to figure everything out on your own, because, we are a team here. So I know you're not ever saying that, but let me know you've tried something on your own first.
100%. Yeah. I'll never be upset about that if the solution is not there, but the effort is, right?
Right.
So that's pretty key. And that one goes really well with number 6 and number 7. Actually, they're kind of together, but number 6 is ability to handle difficult situations. And that could be problem solving something that is especially tricky or difficult to handle. It could also be any number of difficult situations with, let's say, a very emotional or distressed caller, any number of things that you might encounter in your day-to-day work that are really challenging. And I guess you would call that grit. That quality might be called grit, right? Ability to handle that and take it on and number 7 here, I probably should have pushed these together, but number 7 is related, which is positive under pressure. So those kind of go together, right? So if you already have sort of problem solving skills in your character, I will say, and then that allows you to have the grit to handle difficult situations and hopefully still be positive under pressure. It's not always easy to do. Like I know you and I have both had a challenging week.
Yes.
But we're trying to be positive as much as possible.
Right.
But there have been some challenges that we've had to like solve, and some that are unsolved or just not figured out yet, right?
Right. And I think that's the difference. You're going to have challenges and things that come up. And are you able to work through it? Or every single time that there's an issue, are you not able to handle it? There's a difference because, we've talked about this before, the importance of taking care of yourself. So did you get enough sleep? Have you eaten yet today? All those things that are going to make you better able to handle any challenging situation that comes up. So if you can't handle a situation, is it a one-off? Or is it you can't handle any difficult situation that comes up? There's a definite difference there.
Yeah. And again, I'll say this, that most people understand that we all make mistakes. And then anybody who is human and has empathy will understand if you're going through a particularly hard time for another reason, or maybe there's other things that are going on outside of work.
Right.
So that's, communicate about that. And we'll actually get to a point here in a minute that has to do with self-care and also speaking up when you're struggling. So that's number 5, number 6, number 7. And I'll throw in under number 7, which is positive under pressure. You laughed at this earlier this week. I call it being an unsinkable Cheerio, right? So you can be pushed down, you can be pushed around, the waves will come, but you're gonna eventually pop up.
Right.
That's what we're going for. And number 8 is being a good listener. So along with being a good communicator, it's also important to be a good listener, especially on the phone with potential clients. There are folks out there that are just really good at talking, but you need to also be good at listening. I was listening to an actual recorded intake call the other day, and it was one that was recorded by the therapist, and I could tell that. I mean, obviously, as therapists, we train in this. So this is our forte. This is what we do. But so many nonverbal things I heard on that call, and it was a lot of like
the active
warm, empathetic, active listening, stuff like that. So that's pretty key, especially as an intake coordinator. You need to know when to be quiet, listen, when to express empathy, and then when to sort of direct the call and move things forward. Right.
Right. And I think another part of being a good listener is even if you have to, because you're listening to understand. And so even if you repeat back what somebody said, is this what you mean? Or I understand you're saying this, that's a really good thing to do so that you just make sure that you are communicating well and you heard what they wanted you to hear.
It goes a long way. Those skills are good in personal relationships. They're good in work relationships. They're good with talking to people looking for counseling. So yes, if you need to work on that, and we all do, honestly, like even myself, I'm a trained therapist with 20 years of experience, but I still have plenty of times where I have to like stop, put other things out of my mind and focus on listening to the person that's talking to me. So it's not like,
because sometimes we're thinking about the next thing we want to say, right? Like I just did, and I interrupted you.
The wheels are turning. Yes. That's a constant skill to be working on. Number 9 is willingness to go above and beyond your role. This goes a long way towards that linchpin and being irreplaceable. But you will be noticed if in your role, you are willing to do more than what is necessarily expected of you. I know I see when that happens. Actually, you did that recently with Lucy, and you teamed up and you created something for our Therapy Intake Pro program that is stellar, right? And that was definitely above and beyond. I never asked you to do that, but you imagined it. And at some point you did ask permission to, I think, move forward with the project. But
we presented the idea to you without you really having anything but just bits and pieces of it. And of course, you gave us the go ahead after that. But it was something. And you jokingly said that we were conspiring behind your back because it was something that we worked on.
Yes.
And that's, you can do that. You can wow somebody when you see a need and find a way to fill it
Mm-hmm.
that may be something that is outside of what you would normally do or what anybody else has done in the past. That's when you have that really wow factor.
Definitely. Yeah. And it doesn't always have to be big things, right? That was
No.
in my mind, that was kind of a big thing. That was
Yeah.
a really good surprise for me.
Right.
But it could be just as simple as following up enough times to get a hold of somebody.
Mhm.
And that doesn't happen that often. Usually people call a therapy office or 5 or 10 of them, and they don't get any phone calls back. So if you're the one that calls back twice and then seems to care, like that's to that person, that's going to be wow.
Exactly.
I'm so happy about that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So look for opportunities to do that. Number 10 is learning and maximizing the use of technology. In the modern private practice, this can't be overstated, right? So when people say to us in an interview that they love technology or they learn quickly or they like learning new software and systems, that's really nice. It's just hard to do this job, whether you're in the office as an intake coordinator or you are totally remote. There's just like at least 5 or 6 platforms that probably every practice is using, right? From the EHR to the phone system, et cetera.
Right. Gone are the days of charts and paper. So
Yeah,
you got to use technology.
definitely. That's what I love to do. I love it too much. Sometimes I think. One time I wrote down all the software programs
Oh dear.
that we use, even just for productive therapists, and it was like 17, right?
And it is easier on you to use that technology. I think I probably even told you about a doctor that I worked for, a surgeon, and he was still so old school that he took photographs with a camera that had to be developed, the film.
Really?
Yes. And then it was a nightmare. Then they had to be scanned and sent email. It was just so time consuming. So yeah, if you can maximize and use technology, you're going to be ahead of the game.
Yeah, for sure. Some things are still better analog, but digital does make a lot of things easier, for sure.
Yes.
Again, that's something you can learn. If it's not your strongest skill, you can definitely practice and learn. And there's lots of good resources out there.
Yes.
Number 11, having reasonably good self-care practices. You might not necessarily think of this right out of the gate, but this can be a very challenging job. Burnout certainly happens. Therapists call it vicarious trauma. But if you hear about enough other people's stories that are difficult, challenging, or worse, right? That will definitely affect you as a person. So very key that you have some practices or that you develop some practices in your personal life and in your working life, right? So that's things like the obvious ones like sleeping well, spending time in nature, and any number of practices like journaling, all the kinds of things that you've heard about or you might be aware of to make sure that you are in the best possible state of mind when you come to work.
And I know you're going to talk about this a little bit later, but with this specifically is not being ashamed or afraid to speak up if you are having some trouble. Even if it was something 2 weeks ago you handled just fine, and for whatever reason today it just hits you differently, the worst thing you can do is try to bury that. And so speaking up is going to help you fulfill that self-care practice.
And it takes a little bit of self-awareness to kind of check in with yourself and know when something's impacting you, or to know when you need a day off, right? Or vacation or something more than that. I think with our team of virtual assistants most recently, it was as simple as, every 90 minutes or so, you probably need to get up and walk around and, get some water or go outside or just put some space in between sitting down and looking at the screen and doing the work, right?
Right.
So that's really key. And you're just going to last longer. You're going to be happier and you're going to provide better services.
Exactly.
Next one, I won't go into too much here, but number 12 is willingness to learn and grow. And that's kind of baked into all of these things, where if you are the kind of person that has what we call a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, and you feel like, I'm really good at many things. These other things I'm still working on, but I know that I can improve with some time and effort. That's just going to go a long way. And I like it. I like it when people are hungry to learn and grow, because that means a lot, really, that that their capacity can grow and that they're, just more fun and interesting to work with too.
And you're not going to have somebody who says, well, this is the way we've always done it and this is working. You're right. They're going to be much better to work with because they're open to suggestions and ideas.
For sure. I also respect it when people say, no, thank you. I don't want to learn that new skill. I want to stay in my lane.
Right.
Because I value people who know what they're good at.
That's right.
So I guess, the opposite of that would be, and we've definitely encountered this before, but somebody who has a lot of self-confidence, but they say yes to too many things. And
I've done it.
Yeah, right.
I've done it.
Yeah, sure. And that comes with its own challenges.
Right.
And our value is to under promise and over deliver. That's what we want to do.
Yes.
So that is number 12. Number 13, we're almost there, is desire to contribute and make suggestions to improve the practice. And that sort of ties in with the one about creating systems. And hopefully anybody who's taking this type of job is not just wanting to check boxes, maintain a spreadsheet, but you want to hopefully be a little bit more of what I would call a partner in the practice and be somebody that's there to help, make suggestions. I know that the practice owners that we support and work with, they really love it when their assistant can come to them with ideas or be a good sounding board. So the practice owner can say, hey, I was thinking about changing this with the intake system. What do you think about that? And do you have any ideas?
Right. Yeah, that's so interesting because the first time that somebody asked my opinion, I was like, my answer is going to affect your business and possibly even your bottom line. Are you sure you should be asking me this question? But you're right. Sometimes it is just to bounce an idea off of somebody. And how fantastic that they're asking your opinion specifically if it's about your job, because I'm sure you have worked for people before who never did a job that you did and were making suggestions and changes, but didn't know what they were talking about because they hadn't done the job. So the fact that they may be asking your opinion and it's going to have an impact on the job you do, you want to be involved in that conversation and in that process.
Definitely. And that speaks to them trusting you, which is always a good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I try to hire people that are smarter than me. So, not everybody does that. Some people just want to hire folks that will say yes and do what they're told.
Right.
But I want to hire people like yourself that have good ideas and are willing to, bring them up. So that's super valuable. And then number 14, the very last one here, is having enough confidence to speak up when you're struggling or something isn't working for you. So a lot of folks who find themselves in administrative positions are helpers by nature, which is really good.
Right.
And sometimes those personalities can also can say yes a lot and then not speak up when they're overwhelmed, when they're struggling, or when something just simply isn't working. And then oftentimes the people that the practice owners that we're supporting tend to be busy, ambitious, entrepreneurial. I'm not going to say hard charging, but maybe
right.
They move forward maybe quickly and those kind of things. And so as an assistant, as an intake coordinator, it's very important to be able to feel like you can have a voice and speak up when you need to.
Right. And would you say as a practice owner and an employer that a lot of it also has to do with the way somebody speaks up and the way they broach the subject? Like, let's say, for example, somebody's asking for a raise. You can do that the right way and you can do that the wrong way. So even if you're struggling with something, the words you choose and the way you approach it, I think goes a long way too.
Definitely. We could do a masterclass on that one for sure. And that's strong skills for life in general, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Because the way you bring feedback to anybody in your life, whether it's a friend, a family member, or your neighbor, right?
Right.
So it's
There's
very
a
important.
saying about that. Somebody who shows you the door, the way that they do it, they show you the door and you're thanking them for it because they have that skill of being able to.
I like that.
Yeah.
So there you go. Those are the 14 qualities of a world-class assistant. And like I said a few minutes ago, it's really okay if some of these are more aspirational and things that you want to work on and improve. Totally okay. I would be surprised if anybody listening to this checked all 14 boxes and you said I'm a 10 out of 10 on all of these. And if you did, I would say, really, let's talk about that. Let's talk about
sure? Are you sure?
Yeah. And totally okay to ask for help when you need it. We all do. And having the self-awareness to know your strengths and your weaknesses, that's super valuable. And everything that you do to be better in this role is going to make you more world-class at your job. It's going to help more people, and it's going to make your boss super thrilled. Right. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that and that was helpful. Have a great day. Bye, Tricelle.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the episode today. If you are interested in checking out Therapy Intake Pro, check the link in the show notes to sign up, and we would love to support you.